The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Don Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And it's Holy Week, so it's a much more Catholic sort of show this week. We're about to celebrate the biggest event of the year, and you're receiving this presumably on Holy Thursday or Good Friday, depending on when you download your podcast, and whether you're actually perhaps listening to us in Australia, as some of our friends who do Catholics of Oz do. Joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Welcome back, Pat.
Hi, glad to be here.
And joining us for the first time, Father Andrew Kinstetter. Welcome, Father Andrew.
Hey, Dom.
So, Father Andrew, as we do with new panelists on the show, I just want to take a moment to have you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Father Andrew Kinstetter. I'm a fairly recently ordained priest, a priest of 3 years. So I'm currently at the Cathedral of St. Mary in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm a native of Wyoming and have had a passion for technology and pop culture. I mean, really pretty much my whole life. And kind of interesting to note, I discovered you guys from Father Roderick's sensational YouTube video when he recorded about his reactions to Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yes.
So, and I've been a fan of Secrets of Doctor Who for years as well.
Awesome.
So
That's great. Yeah, that video, I mean, it's still the viral sensation. I remember when that went out there. That was such a great time. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. And you're also neighbors to our one of our other panelists, Father Corey Stika over there in Montana. I like to think that the center of our country is well represented. So we're not just an East Coast, West Coast sort of technology show like so many are. We cover the whole country, which is awesome. So let's get into our topics for the day. Our first segment, we're going to talk about the new Disney Plus streaming service. And we talked a few weeks ago about the Apple TV Plus service that was introduced. This seems to be the time of year when we're going to introduce streaming services. And this is one of those ones that was so anticipated for a long time because, of course, Disney is a huge entertainment and media powerhouse, even more so now that they bought Fox, which is mind-blowing. And so what do we know? They recently, in the past week, announced details finally about what we're going to see. So here are the details. So it's going to launch in November. Exactly November. Oh gosh, I lost my place. It's going to launch November 12th. So the day after Veterans Day. I'm not sure what day of the week that is this year, but so November 12th, and it's going to cost. And of course, everyone wants to know, what does it cost? It's going to be $7 a month or $70 a year, which is less than Netflix and presumably less than Apple, although Apple hasn't said what it's going to be, but everyone's guessing it's going to be about $10. I don't think Apple has announced. Well, but be that as it may, they're going for a lower price. They had said ahead of time, we're going to come in under Netflix because, we acknowledge we're not going to have as big of a catalog as Netflix does out of the gate. So that's good. So, what do we get for that? And we could talk about some of that. So let's just talk about first your impression of the money matter. What do you think? Is this $7 sound about right? Are they lowballing it so that they can raise it later, or is this about what these things are worth? Father Andrew, I'll let you go first since you're just joining us for the first time.
Well, so as a huge Star Wars geek myself, to be quite honest with you, $7 a month is not at all bad for me to fork over for this. And so I also don't at all even pay for Netflix or any of the other streaming services. I do have Amazon Prime, but I got that because of the shipping primarily, not because of the TV shows. So for me, like I said, I'd pay for it if it was $10 a month. But I do think that the $7 a month is going to appeal to families a little bit better than a Netflix subscription. So it's probably going to work there. And I hope they just kind of stick with that and don't tweak the money later down the road. But Disney will do what they do. So
How about you, Pat? What do you think of this $7 a month that they're lining up for?
That's less than going to a movie a month.
That's true.
You know, and so that's kind of one of my things is how affordable is it? And I do think for families, this will be much more affordable when they consider there's multiple kids sitting there watching. I think this will be a much more affordable method.
When you look at, I remember a few years ago, this is probably before I had kids, but seeing other people who had kids and they were buying the VHS tapes, and everyone would have, like, you go into these homes and there'd be a wall 3 feet long or more of just Disney VHS tapes. And those are $15-$20 each. This is going to be, this is what they got. They've got Star Wars, Marvel, the entire Disney vault, their whole entire back catalog. All of this is going to be on there, and not just the movies that they've produced, but all of the new shows that they're going to make. So let's talk a little about what the content is. So for one thing, they've said there will be none of their R-rated films will be here, and that was very interesting, because Disney, as a corporation, of course, makes R-rated movies under certain parts of its production studios, but not under the Disney name. So I thought it was interesting that they said, no, we're not going to do that here. That's going to go because they also own Hulu, which is another part of the conversation. That's going to go on Hulu. So I think that's usually, it keeps it separate, which is different from, say, Netflix, which it's pretty easy to stumble on some pretty bad stuff on Netflix accidentally,
like the Leprechaun or something like that.
Yeah, or this new thing they have, this made for Netflix original, Love and Robots or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's a series of animated shorts that's very explicit and like both gory and the other stuff. It makes me not ever want to let my kids, I know they have a kids profile where it's just kid friendly content. But, kids will press buttons and stuff and get into things.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think about that first? That they're going to keep all of the R-rated stuff over on Hulu and keep Disney Plus just its PG-13 and PG and G movies. What do you think of that decision?
Well, as a Catholic and a mom, I totally applaud that. Just like I applauded Apple's decision that they were going to try to keep their things more family-oriented and not get into the R-rated stuff. So that's very appealing to me on that aspect.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I'm quite surprised that Apple has done what it has to keep those things clear of that sort of content. It seems to go against the stream. I'm happy about it, but certainly it's interesting. So what else? So what are we going to get in these on the Disney Channel? Or Disney Plus? I shouldn't say Disney Channel because that's a whole nother ball of wax. We're going to get a bunch of Marvel shows that are produced by the Marvel movie people, not the Marvel TV people. And that when the TV people are the ones who've made the stuff for Netflix, like the Defenders and Daredevil and Luke Cage and that stuff. This is going to be people who make the movies. So we're getting a Loki show starring Tom Hiddleston, Loki from the movies. We're going to get a movie featuring Wanda and the Vision, the Scarlet Witch and the Vision, starring Paul Bettany and, the actress's name. I don't remember the actress's name. I just read it and I forget it now. And even they talked about there's a Hawkeye show starring Jeremy Renner. So they've got big movie stars with these roles. So that sounds interesting. And then we have some Star Wars shows, The Mandalorian, which I saw a teaser trailer from Star Wars Celebration, and I was geeking out on that one.
Me too.
Yeah, they were going to get a Cassian Andor show starring Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk, by the way, as K2SO, which is a lot of fun.
Yep.
And like a 6th season of Clone Wars. So there's all this stuff, new stuff, and then all of these classic Disney animated and movies and all this stuff. So what do you think of this catalog here? I think, Father, you already said that this is a no-brainer for you. This is you're all in.
Sure.
What do you think? What do you think of this in general? Are people going to be subscription fatigued out, or is Disney just so big and attractive that people will have to subscribe? How do you think this was gonna going to settle out?
Well, so first of all, I guess one point that I had was I appreciate the fact that there's no R-rated shows on there. No real good entertainment does not need that kind of stuff for me to be entertained. I love the clean humor and especially, like we said, for families, I think that's absolutely wonderful. And I think in terms of just, the subscription fatigue, I suspect that many people, especially if they're my generation, which we're, kind of the ones making these movies now, I don't think we're going to have an issue with it because it's Disney and I am the one who had the bookcase full of Disney movies growing up and, The Lion King and Aladdin and all of those. And my generation is the ones who are going to be definitely buying into this. And I don't think that we're going to hardly think twice about it. I was just talking to a friend of mine today and her and her husband, he loves Marvel and he's going to get this because of the Marvel side of things. And I'm going to get it, because of the Star Wars side of things. But I also love all the old Disney movies that I grew up with. And I'm going to, watch those again, of course. So from my perspective, I suspect Disney has the big enough name that they're not going to at all have any problem selling this whatsoever.
Pat, what do you think on that?
Oh, I agree. I think that to me, in fact, I would probably drop my Netflix and take this up instead because on a average month, I watch more on Amazon Prime than I do on Netflix, although there are a few things I like there. And so to me, Disney's no brainer, as it say. I would add that easily. I am curious about the catalog. Will they do like Netflix in that not everything is available all at one time? Or will they just say everything's out there, you can go get whatever you want whenever? Because Disney used to have a history of releasing a movie and then about 12 years later re-releasing it again, either for copyright reasons or there's a whole new generation of kids. So I am curious about that aspect of it because it's disappointing when you get used to something being there and it's gone for several months.
So they did say that Disney service will start with around 500 films from the Disney library and around 7,000 episodes of Disney TV fare. However, it's also said they will launch with the 13 film signature collection that includes Aladdin, Bambi, The Lion King, and that 18 Pixar films will be available at launch. With Coco, Incredibles 2, and Toy Story 4 arriving later because they've already have those existing contracts with Netflix. They have to wait for those to expire. But so it sounds like it's all gonna be there from the beginning, unless they have those current contracts issues. But all the old stuff should be there.
That would be nice.
It sounds like, yeah. I mean, that's if they're going to ask us to pay a monthly, amount, they better let us have it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hope that their menu system is good, for getting in there, because that's going to make a whole difference. How hard is it to search for something? How hard is it to look for a particular category? How hard is it to make sure that you know which is the last episode you watched? If that's clunky, that could be awful.
That's true. They did say that that will be available everywhere. They're going to have it on Nintendo Switch even and PlayStations.
Wow.
And that the iPad or tablet version, which is that usually the iPad version. I mean, I'm sure there's still Chrome tablets out there somewhere. They will have
Android.
Yes, they will have unrestricted mobile downloads, which is pretty interesting. Which means that you could download a movie and get on a plane and watch your film without having to be connected to the internet. So that's Netflix and Amazon already do that, so that's good. It's interesting that one of the things they said, speaking of that, is that both Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame will be streaming exclusive on the service at first. So you won't be able to stream them anywhere else until after they've been on Disney Plus for a while. So I find that interesting. No word on how long that will be and whether that includes, like, say, buying it, a streaming version from iTunes or Amazon. So that's interesting. My opinion is I think the big loser in all this is going to be Netflix. Netflix is going to be the one that people are going to say, well, look, there's no Star Wars anymore. All these Marvel things are there. I still find original Netflix content that I enjoy, but if I had to make a choice, this is with Apple TV Plus coming. I'm not yet sold on the content that I've seen so far from Apple TV Plus, quite honestly. But Amazon Prime and then Disney and this talk now of a discount bundle with Disney and Hulu, because AT&T Hulu used to be owned by a bunch of people, Fox and Disney and AT&T and Comcast. Well, everyone has, since Disney bought Fox, everyone has now sold their stake to Disney. So now Disney owns it. And, you could get Hulu, which has your local stuff, and then and a lot of these other shows and the NBC shows. This is looking pretty attractive right now to do that. So it's a lot to look forward to, and it's very interesting. It's an interesting time to be alive when we're getting all of, we're getting Star Wars TV shows and Marvel TV shows and Star Trek TV shows all at once. As a kid, I could never have imagined living in this sort of world where we're getting all this stuff. I'm very excited by that.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that this is sort of the, 21st century of the cable subscription.
Yes.
That, like, when I was in college, we had a cable subscription because it was the internet line, but I never have paid out of my own pocket for a cable subscription for TV services. And this could very well be the first time that I personally do that in this kind of new age of streaming and, rather than just going out and buying the DVD. And so I've kind of found that kind of an interesting perspective on this whole, what the streaming service is today compared to, what it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I've been looking at my cable bundle for several years, thinking I really want to get rid. I don't want to be paying for cable TV anymore. I want the internet connection. And I keep looking at Sling and some of these other over the cable TV options that would give me the things that I would miss. News, local news. So there's some sports that I want to watch that are only on cable. And I keep looking at it, and I'm not quite at the point. I don't get a lot of extra on my cable, so I'm not quite at the point where it's financially better, but I really want to be there. I don't want to be giving, in my case, Verizon money for TV. I'd rather give it to Disney or Apple TV Plus or Amazon Prime, which I'm already like you. I look at Amazon Prime as I buy lots of books and other gadgets and things, and get free movies and TV shows on the side.
Right,
so.
Right.
And they've been a lot better about some of the movies that they've come and series that they've come up with too. So a lot of those are attractive to me.
Oh
on
yeah,
Amazon.
I just finished watching two that I really enjoyed. Hannah, which was about the girl who is like genetically modified super soldier whose dad takes her out into the wilderness to escape from the CIA, etc., etc. That was pretty good. And then The Widow, which was another really good series that they just did. They see, and then I really enjoyed their series Bosch, which is about the detective.
I'm looking forward to that to return. Yeah. And
then Man in the High Castle, which has been great for so long. So yeah, Amazon I feel like has been hitting it out of the park with their series. So it's an interesting time to be alive, right? And to be a TV and movie geek. Yes.
Yes.
Let's move into things that are of a bit more spiritual realm here. Like we said, it is Holy Week. And so as a tech podcast, I'd like to kind of talk about how can our tech help us have a more spiritually fruitful Holy Week and Easter. I recognize it's Holy Thursday, so we've lost most of the opportunity for Holy Week, but for what remains or for Easter or for next Lent, we could talk about that. So I'll start off with just recommending that YouTube is a treasure trove of good music for both the Triduum, which is Holy Thursday, and Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil, and Easter hymns, because Easter begins on Easter Sunday and goes for a whole week. That is liturgically, the Easter is not just one day; it's 7 days, and I love the fact that in our faith, our holidays are a week long. I love that. So, but you can go on YouTube and find videos of so much of this beautiful, timeless music being performed beautifully. It's a nice resource to hear it, especially if you have a parish where perhaps they don't have a choir or they don't have access to musicians who can play that sort of thing, or if your choir director and pastor don't really care about that great music and you do, this is your opportunity. So I would, like, if you look for the Exultet, which is the chanted prayer at the height of the Easter Vigil. I love that prayer. It's my favorite prayer of the year to hear that. It's just so beautiful. If you get a chance to Google it or to search for it on YouTube and listen to it sung, that would be a great idea.
So Dom, it's fun that you say that because I'm actually chanting the Exultet this year.
And
I've chanted it before, and the initial way that I had to kind of learn the tune and how to chant it was going to YouTube.
Wow.
And listening to it, because I do better if I can hear it and kind of follow along versus just seeing chant notation and following it there. So yeah, there's some really beautiful stuff out there as well.
So yours will be out there next time then, right?
Well, that's if my mom comes to record it like silently from the pew, which she did that a couple years ago.
So do you have I just want to throw to you guys before I give another one. Pat, do you have something you want to recommend that would be a nice tech or app or gadget thing, a technology thing to help us during Holy Week?
Right. Well, while I'm in the car commuting from place to place to my clients, I often listen to, podcasts like SQPN podcasts, but, I listen to a lot of other things too, or the radio. So for Lent and for Holy Week especially, I picked out several different podcasts or audio of the Bible or sometimes audio books that I'm listening to that help me. Like this today, I was listening to one of Thomas Merton's sermons on the agony in the garden.
Ooh.
And it was just marvelous. It really puts you right into that meditation. And as far as like movies, every year I watch at least one movie. The Passion of the Christ is very explicit as far as its painfulness and violence, but it puts me there.
Yeah.
And so I do that. That's basically it. As I say, there are a lot of podcasts out there that are very appropriate for that. And on my Kindle, the other thing is I've got several books on the Kindle that I mentioned in another podcast last week, but it's about the Easter season and Lent and meditations and Holy Week literature that deals with this. So it's poetry, it's short stories, it's snippets of plays. Those things really help me a lot during Lent and especially during Holy Week.
Excellent. Thank you. Father Andrew, do you have anything you want to recommend?
Yeah, so it kind of bounces off of what Pat was even talking about. For us as a family, we would always watch the Ten Commandments during Holy Week.
Oh, yes.
And it was just a staple in just what I knew and what to expect. And, and so it was, not only was it, we learned about the Exodus event and all of that, it was actually a really cool family experience because it was something that the family did together and it was something that I looked forward to every year. So that would also be a fantastic movie
Plus,
to watch.
Edward G. Robinson as that horrible traitor to his people is just awesome.
Yes.
I agree. I love the Ten Commandments.
And then the other thing that I did a few years ago, and I've heard people do this as well. So rather than listening to a podcast in the car or listening to a spiritual book on audiobook, it's more penitential and of course non-tech, but is to have complete radio silence while you're driving. So that's just a fasting from all the media, whether it's just a podcast or because often we just want to distract ourselves. And even if we have good intentions with good podcasts and stuff, often we're just so bombarded with the noise of the things around us. And we almost can't sit in a car for 30 minutes in complete silence and use that time to meditate and pray. So that could be kind of the opposite end of using tech, is just completely fast from it in the car.
That's a great idea. That is great. We are so surrounded by tech and immersed in it. And I dare say those who listen to this podcast, probably more so than most even, that it's probably good to fast from it, even for, say, Good Friday. I might do that. I go for a walk every morning. And when I go for my walk, I always listen to my podcast. But this Friday, when I go, I may do without. I may even just pray a rosary instead on my walk, or several of them, because I walk long enough to pray several. So that's a great idea. Speaking of movies, one that I've picked up in the last couple of years that I like to watch during this season is Risen, starring Ralph Fiennes, and it sort of picks up from Easter morning and follows this Roman soldier in Jerusalem who's been tasked by Pilate to find out what's all this business with this criminal's body that's disappeared. There's all kinds of uproar over it. Go find it. And so it's his sort of journey from his point of view. It's sort of like a detective story of what happened with the resurrection. And
cool! I've never seen that.
Oh yeah, it was really good. I have in fact, I even picked up the DVD after I watched it in the theater because it was so good. I want to watch it every year. And so it's a really cool story. It's called Risen, and it stars Ralph Fiennes. So I think it's Ralph, not his brother. I always get them mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the Fiennes brothers. But
one of the Fiennes brothers.
Yes, but I think it's Ralph. So that's one. And then I want to recommend an SQPN podcast that can be a resource all around the year, but this time of year especially, is our Pray Station Portable podcast, which is our Liturgy of the Hours podcast, where Jeff Vista has been doing this for, I want to say, more than a decade. Every day,
wow.
Each of the hours, the morning prayer, daytime prayer, office of readings, evening prayer, and night prayer, every day, in short, few minutes at a time. And it's nice. In fact, my wife, Melanie, Pat's daughter, she often listens to it while she's making dinner, and has something to listen to. And our kids listen to it, and they've become very familiar with the Liturgy of the Hours. In fact, my oldest, when she was 2 or 3, learned to pray the prayers from heart. Like, she knows she can recite the prayers. So it was so I want to recommend that as a practice, and check it out. The Pray Station Portable podcast doesn't get, I don't promote it enough. I mean, it should be the one I promote the most on our network, because it's I think perhaps one of the most important things we do. So do you guys have anything else you want to suggest?
Well, one of the things that I have is technology. I've got an Apple Watch, of course, and an iPhone, and I've paid for the Universalis app, and that will, if you set it in the settings, it will send a portion of one of the prayers to my phone, but also to my watch. So it pops up, vibrates, and I look down and I see the prayer for that hour or for that time of day. I click on it on my watch, it brings up more of it, the complete thing. And that's been a real help. I really like that.
Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. And it's a great use of the tech that aids in prayer without becoming in your face about it. The technology is not the point. It just aids in that prayer. And that's precisely the sort of thing I'd like tech to do when we use it for this. Father Andrew, what do you have to suggest?
Yeah, I've got a couple other suggestions as well. And something a bit less techy than say an app is even just using the built-in alarm on your phone. Often, the traditional 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m. times to pray the Angelus. A lot of people will just, set an alarm at 11:55 to remember to pray each and every day. So that's a phenomenal thing to do, and it just kind of, breaks up our day and gets us out of the busyness or whatever's happening around us, and reminds us to pray. A couple other things that I had to suggest is one of them is called the Truth and Life app, and so this is an app. It's available on iOS and also Android. And it's a dramatized version of the New Testament from the Gospels to Revelation. So it's not just kind of a monotone audiobook reading, but there's actually different people that are doing the different voices for the characters. So it's the Catholic, the Revised Standard Version, the Catholic edition. So none of the words are changed, but it's just dramatized. So as you listen to it draws you into the New Testament in a way that just an audiobook couldn't, or if you're just kind of reading it. It's a beautiful, beautiful app. So the Gospel of Mark is free in that app, and then the entire New Testament is available for purchase with $20 as an in-app purchase.
And the acting is done by like famous Hollywood actors that you will know, like Neil McDonough, Kristen Bell, Sean Astin, on and on and on. I mean, there's some well-known actors who gave their time for this.
And the name of that app again?
Truth and Life. So if you just search for Truth and Life on the iOS Apple Store or the Google Play Store, it'll pop right up.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes too.
Perfect. Yep. And then the other thing that I have been thinking about, and we use here at the parish, and it's funny that this is a streaming podcast, because I would also recommend forum.org, which is been called the Catholic Netflix. And most parishes, or a lot of parishes, have a group subscription. So parishioners often can go there for free. And there's all sorts of catechetical videos, documentaries, movies on the lives of the saints. The Augustine Institute puts out a ton of awesome and well done resources. In fact, many of them were filmed at the seminary where I went to in Denver. So it's kind of fun to watch those and see my old professors as some of the presenters in those videos. And it's just absolutely phenomenal. But if your parish doesn't have a subscription to it, there is a 7-day free trial, and then it's $10 a month as an individual account, which would be equivalent to Netflix, of course.
Well, and there's Bishop Barron's website too. A lot of his things are so well done, and some of them are free. And then, of course, you can subscribe. But, my husband, every time one new one comes out, he tells me about it, and he's so excited. And the nice thing for that is he can rewind it and listen to the part that he missed a little bit because he has a hearing problem. And so, some of this tech makes it a lot easier for accessibility purposes.
That's very true.
And even Bishop Barron, on his Facebook page, he does a daily gospel reflection. That is the first thing that gets posted every morning. So that's been really cool for me to go to and just have a different kind of look at the gospel and reflect on it as I go through Lent. But he does it, I'm pretty sure he does it even beyond Lent. It's into just pretty much every day. So great resource there.
And our parish, they're posting the sermons of all three of our priests. So we might go to the 9:30 Mass and hear Father James's sermon, but we can also go and listen to Father Jesse and the other priests, their sermons later in the week. And again, rewind them because I tend to fall asleep when I'm listening to them in a pew. So it makes it a great use of technology for that.
Yeah, we go to an 8 a.m. Mass at my parish, and I don't get coffee early enough for me. So I know our priests and deacons have wonderful homilies, and I wish I could. I'm sitting still in a quiet place as a dad of 5 kids. It's just not possible for me to remain alert. I'm sorry. Yeah. I confess it every time I go to confession, and I'm trying. But to have the homilies recorded later is actually that would be a great resource.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, it really is helpful.
Well, and especially for a priest like me, where I don't preach from a script. So I've had people who have come to me after Mass and they say, "Do you have a copy of your homily?" And I kind of give this like awkward, like, well, I've got like a few hand scribbled notes, but I don't have the actual script because I love to be able to preach without a script, because then I feel that I can actually connect with people and I'm not just reading a pre-written text. But you're right. Like there's nobody at the cathedral that's recording that. And perhaps it's something we should look into.
I recommend it.
Especially if they could hook into the sound system. That's the key. Then you don't have the echo and all that. So that would be the thing. So let's, Father Andrew, you mentioned the idea of disconnecting from your tech as a way to observe the Triduum, especially. So I wanted to just kind of quickly, like if you all have any tips or techniques for disconnecting from your tech, either during Holy Week or something like that, if either of you have anything you wanted to offer.
Sure. My initial thought and what I've done this Lent is delete all the social media apps from my phone. But even like more so than that, when I did that, I did like this purge, and I looked at my phone and I just looked at every app and I said, have I even used this in the last 7 days or the last month? And I hit the delete button.
Wow.
And it was funny because that just helps me on a personal level, of course, to just disconnect and to not waste as much time on the social media on my phone. But I was giving a presentation at the parish about a month ago, and the youth kind of help serve. There's like a dinner, a potluck, and then there's a talk, and I was talking about prayer. And at some point we got into the topic of Lenten practices and what I'm doing. And I mentioned that I was going to delete all the social media apps off my phone. And the look that those teenagers gave me was just priceless. And I was not even quite thinking about it. And at one point, the youth minister kind of chimes in and says, well, they want to know, are you still able to access social media? And so I had to explain to them that, yes, that meant that I have to actually go to a computer and log into Facebook on a computer. And it was funny because they sort of didn't even have that concept. I assume it's because they're so used to it on their phone, but they had never even considered, necessarily going to a physical computer to go to Facebook or these sorts of things. And maybe I made an impact on what they thought of. I know you can't really do Snapchat or Instagram from a computer, but you can still view Instagram from a computer. But so that is definitely my recommendation, and it's helpful to just purge the apps even beyond social media.
It's probably like you told them that you were going to go barefoot for 40 days in the desert to take your social media off.
Take cold showers for the next month and sleep on the hard floor.
Inconceivable.
I think they'd rather do that than give up their social media. So one of my tips was, and hopefully I'm not stealing this from somebody, but the setting your phone to grayscale. I know a lot of people have done that, where it's if you put it's in the accessibility settings, so for people who have vision problems, but it's useful for everyone. And what it does is you'd be surprised that when you set your phone into grayscale mode and take all the color out of it, it makes it much less attractive, and it's easier to put down and to be less absorbed in it. It's very interesting. So that's one way to kind of help yourself disconnect. Pat, did you have one that you...
Well, one of the things is I know where the do not disturb is on my phone. And most of the time I don't get notifications and things like that, with a few exceptions. So, for instance, phone calls from somebody that I consider one of my favorites or something like that. But the fewer interruptions I have, that helps. I'm kind of mixed feelings on the Facebook fast, because there are the people that I follow on Facebook have a lot to say spiritually and theologically. And so what I usually try to do is, up in the top of the Facebook bar, there's a place that shows you notifications. I don't just go into my stream and read. I just go to the notifications and pop on those people that I know are nourishing that part of me.
Oh.
And that's been a real help, too.
That's a great idea.
I can always go look at somebody's page later, but that way I'm focusing on just the ones that I know will have something to say, like your wife.
Yes. Right.
And a lot of the Catholic bloggers that are online. There's more spiritual discussion on Facebook that I see than cute puppies and stuff like that.
Yes,
so
that's true. That's a good way. If you don't want to completely get rid of Facebook, following just the notifications. Yeah, Twitter, you can't really do that, which is unfortunate. Although Twitter, you can curate your stream so that you're only looking at the people who are most nourishing. You're only following certain people. So it's a way to do that too.
I've got a fun kind of side story with your turning your phone to grayscale.
Yes.
So because we're a tech podcast and a geeky podcast, so I have a priest friend who did this year for Lent. And with the new Marvel Avengers Endgame posters that came out, there was a slight variation that the heroes who had been killed in the snap were grayscaled on the poster, and then the ones who weren't were normal colored on the posters. And so we were having this group conversation with me and my friends, and Father Brian was like, they're all grayscale. Like, I can't see any difference between the pictures. And so we had to kind of explain that, no, the ones who survived are actually in color, but your phone in grayscale can't actually see it. So, so the grayscale thing may backfire in certain situations, but
when you're looking at the Marvel poster, that's a bad backfire.
Go to the computer to look at that one.
Right, and also the new Star Wars trailer. Watch it on your computer in color. So excellent. So those are all great tips. Thank you so much. So before we finish up with our picks of the week, I do have some feedback, a follow-up on a topic we discussed. I think it was last week. We talked about the GPS rollover bug, and listener James Hamel. Sorry, James. I try. I have one of those names that people stumble over. So I'm going to just say James Hamel, and you can correct me later. He sends a link to a Slashdot article on New York City's related problem that's related to the GPS rollover bug. It took down the city's internal Wi-Fi network, and it's as of yesterday, it was still down. So this is over a week. So this is a Wi-Fi network that the police department uses for its license plate readers. The Sanitation and Parks Department uses it. The Department of Transportation uses it to program traffic lights. I mean, this is a vital piece of their infrastructure, And this $500 million network, which was built for the city by Northrop Grumman, it was offline as of last Saturday, April 6th, when the GPS rollover bug, the rollover happened, and the bug came alive, and it was still down as of 10 days later. So that's a big deal, and they're not disclosing it. They've been keeping it pretty quiet until I think it was the New York Times has been trying to is on the story now. So they're asking the city, and so we'll see what happens with that. But that's an example of where this was a real world consequence. So this is, we were talking about, we didn't see a whole lot of real world consequences. This is one that's a big real world consequence. So
wow,
interesting story there. Thank you, James, for sending that in. And folks, we love to get your feedback and follow ups from you. So that's great. So let's go to our last segment where we talk about our picks of the week. And Father Andrew, you have a pick of the week, one that's near and dear to my heart. See in our rundown. So what is your pick of the week?
Yeah, so my pick of the week, I figured I needed to give something that I use literally all the time. And so this was something that I started using in seminary. So it's Dropbox. And I started using it in seminary because I would write papers for classes. And if I'm using the school computers, but I'm using also my personal laptop, I was getting frustrating having to email myself this updated file each time that I was writing, especially when I was writing my master's thesis. And that it was at that point that I realized if I had cloud storage, I could just, sync all the files and work more seamlessly. And so I got involved in Dropbox and have just absolutely loved it ever since. And it's one of those that I don't even necessarily consciously think about that I'm using, because what it does is it has all your files in the cloud, but then you can have it download physically, but virtually onto your hard drive. And then when you change the file on your hard drive, it will automatically sync with the cloud server. So I have just a folder on my computer that's Dropbox. And when I tweak a Word document or the MC chart that I have going on for the Easter Triduum, I can update it there and it's automatically synced to the cloud. But then I can also view it on my phone. I can view it on any device that I have Dropbox on. And I don't even really think that I'm using it because it just looks like a folder on my computer that I'm using. So I absolutely love it. And so just to kind of give some information about that, there is a free basic plan with that gives you 2 gigabytes of data. And the only issue with that I wasn't even aware of until just recently, but it's limited to 3 devices.
That's right. Recent.
So, yeah, I think
That's
March is when that kind of rolled out. And so that means a phone, a computer, a tablet, those would all be considered devices, but I don't think just logging in through a web browser is considered a device. So,
it isn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got 3 devices, 2 gigabytes for free. And then if you go to their Plus plan, which is what I use, it's $8.25 a month for a terabyte of data and unlimited devices.
Yeah, and if you had a free account before they made the change, you're grandfathered in. But if you change a device, if you get a new phone, you're back down to 3. So it's you're grandfathered for a while until you have to change your phone. So, but I have to say, Dropbox is the second thing I install on any new computer. The first thing I install is 1Password, so I have all my passwords, and then the second thing I install is Dropbox, and Dropbox is vital to the way I do work, and to SQPN's operation, we wouldn't be able to do it without it. So I wholeheartedly endorse that pick. Thank you, Father.
I also endorse 1Password.
Yes, and that will be I think if it's not already been a pick, it will be a future pick. That's for sure. Pat, what is your pick of the week?
Well, it's to echo what I said earlier, because I forgot I was going to do it as a pick of the week, but the Universalis app, because that way I get the notifications and all of the liturgy of the hours and all of that, officer readings, all comes to my phone. And if I set the options, it then pops up on my watch as well that I could click on and see the whole thing. And I really like that a lot. The in-app purchase, I don't remember how much it is, but Universalis, as I say, it is. I think it's like $10 or something like that to pay for it.
It's $11, or you could subscribe for $1 a month.
I think I just did the $11 or whatever. I just did the one-time charge because I haven't ever paid anything after that.
And you can get it on pretty much anything. they've all the iOS, all of the Android, including the Amazon Fire and Kindle Fire, Windows, Mac. You can even get it as an ebook on a Nook or a Kindle. So yeah,
and you can get to it from the website as well on a Linux or Ubuntu or whatever too.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's a great pick. Universalis has been doing this for a long time, and I'm glad to see them. So my pick is an app for iOS, which in its best, I think I've only used it on iPad, so I think it's an iPad only, called Pixelmator Photo. Now, Pixelmator has been around for a long time as a sort of a Photoshop replacement on both Mac and iOS. And it does all those things. But for a long time, people said, well, we don't need all the power of Photoshop. What we really want is just an app on iOS that lets me edit photos, lets me do more than I can do on iOS, but does it in that really awesome Pixelmator way. And so they've come up with Pixelmator Photos, which for an undetermined amount of time is $5, which is a great deal. So we'll see if it goes up anytime soon. But it has such great tools. It's got all the tools you want, but it also has like one-click machine learning enhanced. Machine learning is the thing that everyone puts on their stuff nowadays, but it's machine learning enhanced one-click, auto enhance button. You can edit raw photos natively. It's got some great tools in it, and they've got all kinds of filters and presets that come along with it. So it is really. It's good for both pros and amateurs. I mean, runs the whole gamut. I mean, there's so much depth to it. These guys have been doing really great work. They even have a healing function where you could just it's like a repair tool. So like if there's someone standing in your photo, like if you have an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend you want to remove, you can just like hit the repair button and then you just kind of with your finger over them and they'll disappear, and it will use like the clone tool sort of thing, but really almost like Photoshop's content aware tool, and it really looks really professional. So check it out. Pixelmator Pro works on all the iPads. Gosh, everything. Let's see, iPad 5th generation, iPad Mini 5th generation, the iPad Air 3rd generation, and all the Pros, and better. So it works on a lot of different stuff. So check it out. It's $5. So I jumped in and bought it for $5 because I love to be able to do that on my iPad.
Does it preserve the information in the EXIF stuff? So, or does it replace the date created, etc.? Do you know?
I don't know for certain. I'm pretty sure it does. One of the things it does is it imports the photos. It doesn't edit them in place in the photos library.
Okay.
So I don't think apps can actually edit in place unless they are plugins. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I know that in order for it to work, you have to import the photo in. But I'm pretty sure it saves the EXIF data. Doesn't change it doesn't change the created information, that sort of thing.
Good.
But I think you can actually edit it. I don't often edit the EXIF data, so I don't know for sure. But that would be
no. But I don't like programs that wipe it out.
Yeah, I think they respect it if it's
That's
there.
Good.
So that would be good. So those are our picks of the week, and that's our show. Before we head out, I want to, as we always do, to give a special thanks to our patrons who make it possible for us to create Secrets of Technology. We wouldn't be here doing this show and all the other shows we do without the patrons. It can't happen without their financial support. It's just a fact. And so I am extremely grateful to all of them. And today we're thanking by name David S., Stan S., Thomas M., Ninth Hour Design, and Alfredo B. It's through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give. Like I said, that's what makes it possible for us to do the Secrets of Technology and all the great shows we have at sqpn.com, including the Catholics of Oz and Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. And by the way, Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World is going to be really cool next month. We got some really cool shows coming up next month. We just recorded them last week. They're really awesome. And Secrets of Movies and TV Shows, which we had The Secrets of the Godfather released earlier today. So being on Holy Thursday, I didn't plan it that way. I'm not sure there's a significance to that. But hopefully, it's okay to everyone but it was a lot of fun recording it. So check out our other shows there too. And if you want to help us with financial support to keep SQPN going in our mission to explore the intersection of faith and pop culture and technology, you can do so by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us. What do you think of our discussion? What do you think of the new Disney Plus streaming service, the details? What do you think of how using or fasting from technology during Holy Week and Easter? You can let us know by visiting sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page, which is at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. And you can leave some feedback there or send us an email to technology@sqpn.com. We're also on Twitter at SQPN, as you might know. So you can find all the relevant links for our discussion on our show notes on sqpn.com. And until next time, Pat Scott, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
I've enjoyed it.
Father Andrew Ganstetter, thank you as well.
You're absolutely welcome. This was fun.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.